Well, the history of the Brownfield Grants Program in Brooke, Hancock, and Jefferson County started back in 2003. The three members of the coalition are the Business Development Corporation of the Northern Panhandle. They reside in Weirton, West Virginia. They represent Brooke and Hancock counties. The second coalition partner is the Jefferson County Port Authority. They reside in Steubenville, Ohio. They represent the business interests and the development interests of Jefferson County, Ohio.
The function of the coalition members is to find funds that would be available for anybody, private individuals or companies, to do assessments on their properties. Those assessments would be Phase 1 and Phase 2 activities. Those environmental assessments help the particular companies evaluate the properties prior to them taking ownership or doing some type of activity, expansion or building on their site.
There's also a planning aspect to this, to where we could do site planning, so we could do renderings, we could do surveys, we could do building assessments on these properties. So it's not just land or large brownfields, these could just simply be buildings that we're looking at.
Normally those funds have to be spent by the company or the private individual, which adds burden to their activity, burden to their decision process to do the expansion.
The brownfield revitalization grants come through the US EPA.
And through our coalition, we've been able to secure these funds, and we are able to provide those evaluations by using these coalition funds, and these activities can then get results for the potential buyer of the property to evaluate and make a determination of how extensive any necessary work would have to be done on the site. And usually it's a great benefit for these individuals because this evaluation gives them comfort, I guess is the best word you could say, for buying the properties or doing the expansion on the property. The coalition funds that we have available, the purpose of those is to leverage additional public and private monies into a project. The projects usually have an extensive amount of money that has to be spent for them to do the necessary work for the expansion of the building. And the coalition comes on the front end, and we provide these assessments and these results so that the buyer or the person expanding the property doesn't have to spend their own funds in the project. So we leverage additional private funds from a company to do a particular site development or potential expansion.
We could, come up and give a property owner an idea of what it would be to do the abatement of asbestos or lead paint in a piece of property. We could do a structural assessment of that building. And that way, if the prospect wishes to buy the building, at least they know what it would cost in mitigation to remove those environmental concerns from the property before they begin the renovation of the building and bring in either residential use or end business use. Eligible prospects that can work with the coalition can be small business owners, it could be small civic organizations, and it can also be large corporate developers. They come in all sizes. We've worked with local organizations such as the Salvation Army. We've worked with senior centers. We've worked with large corporations like Bedell that employ hundreds of people. We've worked with organizations that want to create a space for their foundation to operate, to have an activity center within a minority community. We've also worked with the Jefferson County Land Bank, where we've had to assess an old gas station from that used to be in a company co-op store in an isolated area from a mining town from the turn of the 1900s. We're working right now with Frontier Group, going through an assessment process of old steel properties. So these projects come in all sizes. One interesting aspect about the Brownfield Assessments Program is how do we fit these projects into the concept of the community? In some instances, when we started the Brownfield program back in the 2000s, my executive director at the time had gone out into the community, and through certain Brownfield Assistant Program funds that were available through the West Virginia University, through Patrick Kirby at the Brownfield Assistance Center, was to go out into the community and do some visioning. How did the community see the riverbank? How did the community see themselves 10 years from now? What was important to them? Was it to do downtown revitalization? Was it important to do riverbank revitalization? Was it important to bring in new industry and new employment centers? So we get into this wide array. Is it recreational? Is that what we want? What's very important is when we work through the BDC or the Port Authority, when we work with a prospect that comes into the community, what we want to know is their vision, and where we want to know is where they want to start and where do they want to be, because this could be anywhere from a 1 to 3 year process, or in some instances, this could be a 10-year process, to get through the assessment, to get through the end-use planning, and to get it through if you need possible cleanup.
In addition to the US EPA looking favorably to our coalition structure, we have strong support from our congressional individuals, the delegate and the senatorial level. They see the success that we have come through with on various projects, and they are very supportive of our program, and they're very supportive of the Brownfields program at the US EPA to make sure that they are funded properly to continue projects nationally and particularly in the state of West Virginia.